something that we don't get often.
I know, that's what I've been trying to figure out.
We got pho, which we never get, even though that's like my first option.
But we had it yesterday. Well,
huh?
The floor had most of mine.
Yeah. The floor had an equal portion.
The floor had mine, and I had some of your guys's. I don't know. I want some fucking hot dogs or something.
Hot dogs?
Some fucking Coney dogs or some shit. Anywhere here does that? Some chili dogs.
We sent Kevin to Sonic's.
See, we can go to Sonic's, yeah. I'll make a couple chili dogs with onions, no cheese.
Sounds good.
I give him cash.
Yep.
But he's got to go all the way to Castles, though, too, so.
He's going later.
Where? Castles? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we needed a Subaru sensor, so we're just go right now and get that, and then come back. He said Sonic's, get some dogs.
I want hot dogs. Not some chili dogs.
This is some high quality shit.
Like the way you take 241 the Sonic off 41 not that far.
No, it's not that bad. I mean, that's the closest one, right?
Yeah.
Caruso's makes bomb sandwiches too, but they're pretty far.
What's that?
Caruso's
I've
makes
done
bomb
Sonic's
sandwiches
in a
too.
long time.
Let's do Sonic. Let's do that. I can go for some tots.
There's shit that
chili
Kevin will
cheese
eat.
tots,
Two.
chili cheese dog.
Well, no cheese for me, but yeah, you know.
Chili dog.
Yeah. Chili dog with onions, no cheese, and some tots. All right, I'm buying today. So I'm buying today. Alright, let's see here. Today I'm going to stream no phone. Well, I do have an app that's supposed to make my phone like a Bluetooth device for streaming, which is kind of neat and would be great if I could. I mean, I'd say figure out how it works, but I've never tried. So, yeah. That being said, let me do something really quick. Oops, that's the wrong button. So today I'm tuning an 18 FA. Nothing too fancy about it. Just exhaust and intake and 3-port. Nothing too intense. I'll screen cap the software intermittently. But right now, I'm actually going to PayPal to send an invoice. I've been super busy. I've been able to do a bunch of that stuff lately. Boy, this lighting makes me look older than I am. Just kidding. I'm pretty old. Alright, let's see here. Although, thankfully, some of my customers are older than I am. Fix my website now, get rid of my closed thing. Now that I'm back at it. I got updates my prototype, cooling. What happens when you read something while you're trying to talk? My prototype damper is waiting on some materials, but it's going to be started on here pretty soon. And then I get the fun task of testing. And testing is always a good time. I think I don't have the YouTube algorithm happy today. Alright, that's saved. Waiting for some answers to the questions before I send that out. I'm always scowling. It's not that I'm scowling, it's that my vision's starting to go. I'm like, what does it say? And now I'm inputting the customer's information into his tune description and his access port serial number. I would show you that, but it's his personal information, so. Holy fuck, this thing's got every map I've ever made on it. Transferring, saving factory ECU data. This will take a few weeks. I don't know if you guys saw the video that I posted yesterday about my Corvette. It's a very short video where I took the mufflers off and did a dyno pull. You get to hear it run out to 7,500 RPM when the dyno decides that that's fast enough, it said. It's fast enough. It didn't, I didn't turn the speed limiter up high enough on it to go any higher than 7,500 RPM. But even 7,500 RPM on an LS sounds really good. For a second, I thought I was going to like valve float because I'm like, man, this is really. Why does this have 1050X injectors on this thing? This is an FA. It should not have 1050X injector map. Alright. That's weird. Okay. That's good. AP info. Let me get the serial number for the AP. Do a firmware update on this AP. Put his access port number in here. Division 1. I'm importing a few base parameters. I guess I can capture that. Oop, did not work. That sucks. I wish you would just do. Oh, let's do the screen. There it is. That's horrendous. Alright, so I'm just going to grab a few tables here because I already did a bunch of things for the for a car like this. Just get me close, and then I'll pull some timing off it, and then I'll start doing what I need to do. Alright, so I'm just going to grab a few tables here because I already did a bunch of things for a car like this. There it is. It's being weird. It's the wrong one. Let's do it differently. Let's go to this guy. Don't like it. There's no flex on this car. Alright. So. Hey dude. How you doing? This one still has EGR and TGVs, so I should adjust for that and make sure I have that set right. Yes. Okay. I could adjust that more too, actually. We'll see how it does first. Let's get a little baseline in here. There's a lot of shit in these ECUs, right? So one thing we want to do is we want to minimize how much time is spent with the ECU making a whole lot of noise, I guess is the best way to say it. When you get the post start on these things, they have a super aggressive cat warm routine, and they make a lot of noise when that happens. So I tweak it just a smidge so that it doesn't make as much noise and anger the neighbors. This car is catted, of course, so does TGV, so does EGR, so does all its emissions control stuff. So all I do is just tweak that just a smidge, and I'm going to just add a little bit of time into it, just to make it not pop and bang so much, because that's really not really good for other components in there, or for your ears. And then I adjust the idle airflow to minimize the really bad rev hang these things have. The easiest way to do that is with this table here. It's a place to start at least. You can see here it's got a lot less airflow up here. I mean 16 less grams per second. So is that right? 16 grams per second, or is that 60%? Yeah, 16 grams per second right there. So I'm not sure why they hang so bad. Never did figure that one out. Usually I can go through the tune. Oh, it's not showing. That's weird. Usually I can go through the tune, and why did it not show up? There it goes. Not bad. There we go. There's factory. This is the idle airflow target. Typically I can go through and I can determine what they were trying to do when they tried to do it. Right? And in this case, I haven't figured it out. I'm not sure if they're trying to minimize drivetrain shock. Exactly, the post-start timing comp is exactly what it is that causes. I got the chat on the left over here, so that's why I'm looking left. Yeah, that timing comp on the STIs is really bad because it's negative 20 degrees and it goes. And the FAs aren't a whole lot better. So I only alter a little bit because it does still have cats. It still needs to warm. It still needs to use routine. It still needs to do all that stuff. And it's illegal to disable that kind of thing. But when you change the back pressure in the car by changing the exhaust, it changes how much timing is needed to do that. Because you change the velocity of the exhaust, or of everything through the exhaust and all that. So I'm not harming anything in that regard. Anyway, so this one though, this is airflow target for idle, and this is active as soon as you let off the throttle, and you push the clutch in. And when you push the clutch in, you get that really bad rev hang really high. Now I suspect that the really high airflow at the high RPM is just to keep the engine RPMs up when you're shifting. And that's really weird to me. But potentially they have discovered that doing this reduces shock to the transmission, where if it removes all engine torque during a shift, then you could, if you shift really fast, you'll have a situation where now the engine is slowing down a lot and you shock the transmission back and forth, on and off the throttle. And so they said, just keep the throttle open. If the RPM stay high when you let the clutch out, it's going to be higher than the next shift point, and it's going to keep force on the transmission in mostly the same direction. That's the only thing I can think of that they potentially did this for. Otherwise, it makes no freaking sense because these things rev hang so bad. You push the clutch and they start to come down. That's the only thing I can think of. But there could be another reason, obviously. I just don't know what the fuck it is. But my map for idle air looks like this. Significantly less. Significantly less. Now, with this, you got to be sure at the cooler temps that you have enough in it, because you still need that startup. You said a little bit of that high rev and hang that they have. You got to get the air in the engine for the cat warm routine to work correctly and all of that. So that still exists, and you need that to still work. So if you look at those low RPM regions here, right here, it's only 0.2 grams and half a gram at, is that 2,000, 20-something hundred RPM? 1,600 RPM, which is about where that warm-up happens. It happens right around 1,700-ish. So I've only pulled a tiny bit out. But that's good. I had to pull a tiny bit out because when you add a little bit of timing and stop the pops, you increase engine torque, and that increase in engine torque causes the RPMs to go even higher. So you got to pull a little bit of air out to compensate for the increase in engine torque that you get with the extra timing to minimize those pops and all of that. And then here, idle speed. I actually raised the idle speed on these cars when you put an exhaust on them. And an intake, you got to raise the idle speed. The intake is where a lot of the vacuum comes from in the PCV system. I'm trying to say, if I don't have enough vacuum, then you'll have oil pull up in the turbos and stuff. And the Fords are really bad. You'll see the Fords, they'll get really bad. They'll smoke a lot. Some of the FAs will smoke a lot too for the really free exhaust and intake on them. There's not enough vacuum in the crankcase to suck that oil up out of the turbo drain. Obviously, they have the pump, and that's a portion of it, but you need vacuum in the crankcase too for it to work correctly. So bumping the RPM up helps increase the vacuum in the crankcase and helps keep the oil from getting in the turbo or overwhelming the turbo. So that being said, I've got all those other things set. I'm going to knock the boost down, because like I said, I borrowed some values from another tune. So I'm going to start with the boost. Actually, I'm going to leave the target where it is. We're going to knock the wastegate duty cycle to 0. And we'll do a wastegate pull. And doing this ensures that we don't overboost, because every boost control system behaves just a little different based on what exhaust is on it, based on a lot of other things. Something else that a lot of people do is they raise the rev limiter up a lot on these cars, and a lot of the COB base maps have the rev limiter set at almost 7. I don't like doing that. These things are not reliable at that RPM. They're just not. Now, that may have been an early FA thing. Subaru may have improved it in the later years, so it could be okay in this 18, but I'm not really in a hurry to find out. These things don't make any fucking power up there anyways, so why stretch the rev limiter out to the point where you're going to float a valve or a rocker or break a valve spring, bend a rod, any of those things that these things do when these cars do when you add a lot of RPM to them without beefing up the stock engine. So I don't see a point in doing that. I only go up to 868, which is 100 RPM increase. But a lot of people take them to 7 and stuff, and then they just have failures left and right. So I'm not a fan of bumping the RPM thing up a lot. I think COB takes it to 607. I forget what they take it to. It's just too high in my opinion. That's my opinion, based on the failures that I've seen. Alright, let's see what she does. I'm going to flash this. Say that one more time. I'm calling 19 PSI because these things, they love to make boost, man. They make so much boost. Sometimes it's silly. My target's only going to be 19 in the end, maybe 17.5, but they have a tendency to spike, so it might go up to 19. And if I put a boost target in the description that says 17 pounds and hits 19, I get an email. I saw some chats here. Let's see. Oopsie. Should I raise my idle at 13 WH? No. Nope, you don't have any of the stuff that I talked about that these FAs have. That you give a high turbo, not a low turbo. You don't have an oil pump sucking oil out of the turbo. You don't have any of the things that this car has, so no need. Unless you want to. You know, a lot of people don't like their RPM being so low on these things. They want a little extra inertia to get off of a stop sign, or off the stop, whatever, you know. Or if they put a lightweight flywheel in there, a little RPM, add some inertia to that, make it easier to drive, go for it. My Vet, I set it to 950. I had it really low, and it chopped really hard, and it sounded really sweet, and it was fine to drive, but the rattle was really bad in my torque tube, so I bumped it up to help smooth out those crank pulses and quiet my torque tube down. And that can's pretty healthy. It still chops at 950, so it's not exactly a bad deal. And I drove it home yesterday without the mufflers on it. I had it on dyno with the mufflers on it. If you haven't seen that video, go watch it. It's really short. It's only 2 minutes. I only do one pull. But you can see how much horsepower I make by taking the mufflers off. It's actually surprising how much it picked up. But what's even better is just how good it fucking sounds. It sounds really good. I had the dyno speed set too low, so it only let me go to 7,500 RPM. I say only, right? For an LS, that's pretty high. And power just starts falling off right there. So I feel like if I was to take an 8, it would be relatively useless because power is already fallen off at that time. Right now I'm flashing. It doesn't show that on the screen cap. It's not capturing the little window that shows that I'm flashing, but it says do not turn off vehicle or unplug access port, 62%. For some reason, OBS doesn't catch the sub windows that are part of the same executable, and I wish it would because it'd be really easy to show people all the steps and things that are going on. But I don't want a screen cap. For a screen cap, I can't have the camera very easily, and then I also can't operate OBS and without it going doing kind of stupid shit. So this is what we're doing. 79%. Man, I'm tired today. I stayed up too late. I started doing a bunch of shit, and then I started playing a video game late, and I shouldn't have. I should have went to bed. But I told my friend I'd play, and I wanted to. You know, I told him I would, and I wanted to, so I did. And I played too late. It's like 2:20 in the morning or something. 97%. Come on, baby. Give it to me. Alright. Turn the vehicle off. I got some fucking heartburn. It's got the full water in here for me. Probably not for me. It'd be funny if it was, though. Water for Dom. Well, he does my tune. I'll be like, oh yeah, that's fucking sweet. Here's an extra 20 horsepower. Just kidding. I wish you could do that. Alright, flash successful. Now you turn it off and wait for it to. If you listen, we turned the key up after a flash. You can hear some relays cycle in the car. There it was right there. And one of them is the relay that puts the ECU to sleep. BMWs have that too, and it's a lot longer. Holy shit. But if you look at a BMW, you'll see that the start light is illuminated. When it's illuminated, the ECU is awake. So if you give the ECU a reset command, or any command really, that requires a power cycle on a BMW, and you don't wait for the light to go out, when you hit the power button again, or the start, it will not execute the command. So if you were sat there and going, why are my fucking trims cleared? That's why. And I was that moron once. I spent hours going, what the fuck? I'm hitting reset, ECU, reset trims, and they're not resetting. And it turns out I just wasn't waiting long enough. You gotta wait for the ECU to go to sleep for that command to be effective. So when you start back up again, it starts that protocol by wiping the RAM and then going. Some of those commands don't execute until you turn it back on. You put it in on the way out, but it doesn't execute until the way back on again. And that was one of the issues with BMW that I always had. And yeah, turns out I was just done. I'm gonna turn on, let the throttle calibrate before I try and crank it, and start it. Alright, this car, like I said, has got a Cobb SF on it, and a turboback exhaust, catted downpipe, and all of that. The start was really nice. It was quiet. There was no post, but also it wasn't very cold, so there's that. Connect to the vehicle. Is it show my login screen? It's probably not, is it? Alright, I'm going to have to go to OBS and get the login screen to show if it ever pops up. I don't know about you guys if you've used Access Tuner much, but lately I've been having issues where there's like a certain group of tables like tip and enrichment, a lot of injector based stuff. When I'm in those tables adjusting, desktop, it just straight crashes. It's been really a bummer. Alright, let's see. OBS, let me get this one. There we go. What's crazy about this is I can move this window anywhere I want in the capture software, and it won't be where I have it on my computer. So if I go to Cobb's software, I can move this window and drag it to the top right, and it'll stay in the lower left. Oh, that's cool. It doesn't even have the bar. It doesn't have the grab bar on the screen. That's cool. I almost wish I could tune like that. This car's quiet. I can't even hear the car running over the fans in the dyno right now. It's that freaking quiet. Alright. So I drove the vet home without mufflers yesterday. There were a lot of people checking the car out. When I drove it with mufflers, it doesn't really happen because they don't hear it. But when I have the mufflers on it, that cam is makes a lot of noise. The exhaust makes a lot of noise, obviously, but the cam. Oh fuck, FAs. Yeah, okay. Fine. 15 VA chassis and their freaking seatbelt alarms are just unhinged. Like, illogically just insane. My laptop, luckily, I have it at the edge of the seat. If I had it in the middle of the seat, the passenger seat seatbelt warning would go off just nonstop. It's a bummer. And I gotta say, Subaru engineered the new bling sounds like really well, because the old one, I don't even hear the old one anymore. The ones in O2 to everything, like, I don't hear that beep or anything. But this one, you cannot ignore that. That shit is maddening. Bling, 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 bling. It's like a fucking slot machine on crack. Excuse me, COVID. All right. We calibrate the tach. First step is calibrate the tach on this dyno. It doesn't have a tach reading that comes off the coil. It does it based on roller speed, so I gotta tell it what RPM the engine's at. And that's just the roller speed. So I choose 60 miles an hour because it's easy. And it usually gets me in the middle of the RPM range. So like right now, 60 miles per hour is about 3350, 3300. You see right there in the logs. So I gotta tell the dyno that 60 miles an hour is 3300. Now it does create a little bit of inconsistency if the car suffers from tire growth or even shrinkage as power comes in. If the car pushes into the roller, the tire gets smaller, the RPMs will read off a little bit. Or if the car doesn't push into the rollers and the centrifugal force have to pull the tire outward and make the tire grow and pick the car up, then the RPM is not totally accurate either. But like I said before, it's a dyno, so it's mostly all bullshit anyways. It's an extremely important tool. I don't think you can tune a car properly without a dyno, but people get all hung up on the numbers, and the numbers are bullshit because it fucking varies every day from dyno to dyno and install to install, and temperature and weather and strap tightness and alignment and tire and wheel combinations and fucking everything. So I tell people to stop sweating the numbers and just enjoy their fucking car. Or go to the track, right? And learn to drive. Let's see. Alright, so I'm going to bring up some more parameters here. I want to look at air-fuel trends, learning and correction, and see what we got going on. I'm not actually sure why it's not even up right now, honestly, but it's not. Anything else I want to add? Do both intake air attempts. Do some boost. Mass airflow, for some reason that's not on there right now. I must have been working on something specific on a previous car, an idle issue or something. Don't need requested torque. Oh, I was probably doing throttle stuff. I got requested torque up. Okay, I got negative 12% of learning. That's very interesting. Injector multiplier offset's all the same. That looks big for the Cobb SF. Maybe I got the wrong math cal on here. Let's double check. That doesn't look like the Cobb math cal to me. It's a little high. It doesn't look 12% high, but it actually is a little high. Okay. Save that. Okay, it's coming down a little bit. Still though, still pulling fuel there. Need to restore that. Fuck that up. Really, I borrowed the value from a car that didn't have that. Alright, let's do a little wastegate pressure. See, learning, 5-knock learning came in really quick there. That's the beauty of the FAs. I mean, we're at 5,000 RPM, only 10 degrees of timing at 9 pounds of boost, with commanded air fuel of 11.4, and the air fuel sensor reading 11.4, 11.6, and yet it says, "I'm knocking!" This, that's some FA-isms right there. Had a few customers contact me lately saying other tuners have told them, "Yeah, man, I can't tune your car. It's not going to stay happy." This has got 75,000 miles on it. It might need a walnut blast. It might need a walnut blast. So, Looks like my air fuels don't agree. Let me double check on the dyno here. All this up, so. Cool, so the cat's doing its job. Air fuels at the tailpipe, they're being taken post-cat. They're usually about half an AFR, or 0.5 leaner than they are pre-cat. That's really standard, and this one's exactly that. This one shows 12.0, flat 12.0 line, and our indication here is that it's 11.5, 11.47, 11.49, in that range, and it's pretty much exactly half a point leaner on the dyno. So that's good. That tracks what we would anticipate to be the case. Power was 217 at low boost. Obviously, you saw that learning knock. You may have noticed it came in really quick there, so I let out at 6,000. So power peaked at 57, and then that event started happening, and I let out. Now, why was it knocking at freaking 9 degrees of timing? I don't know. It's fucking FA. So basically what you gotta do with these things is try and figure it out, whether you're adding more fuel or pulling fuel or just pulling timing or whatever. It's just a standard thing. Unfortunately, I don't even think that most of the knock that these things report is even real. I think it's just way too sensitive. But if you try and adjust the knock sensitivity, it doesn't actually do anything. Like, you can take knock sensitivity and dial it up, and it doesn't do anything. I have the threshold changed a smidge for RPM, but that's it. Like, you just don't get anything out of it. So, yay. I might have these sets. I can close that guy. Let's bring these back in correctly. And then alright, that works for me. Oh no. Just use close, I need less timing. That is just a comparison map, so we'll go back here. I'm going to put the factory map for TGVs closed on here for timing and then retweak it. Closed. Alright. That might help with my cruising. Save that. Go flash that. Hooked up with lunch. That's what I want to know. Doing this? It's that time. Good. fucking ATAC is like, oh, we canceled your order that you placed, and because for the stuff that was out of stock, and we don't charge for out of stock stuff. There's no refund due. Like, that's funny. My PayPal account shows you guys you charged for the fucking shit. You guys charged me $3,000, so I guess I just need to do another thing. Tee off 15 seconds. Go back to my website here and tell these fuckers to give back money. Oops. Hey, people are here. Say hi, everybody. If you come by into the stream, please post up. Just say hello. Say what's up. Tell me to go screw myself or something, so I can be sure to talk to you guys and all of that. What the fuck this is? Um, 60s right now? Yeah, it's 66 right now. So it's a normal September really at that point. I have a chat back. This is weird. There it is. Oops. Oh, that did do it. This is actually just intake and exhaust. It still has all the other stuff that it came with from the factory. Oh, and a 3-port. It's got a 3-port too. Looking for anything that should be fitted with an orifice on it. It's not made by Autometer. $56. Oh yeah. Depending on what size line you're using, you can just use a turbo oil restrictor. A turbo oil restrictor or something like that. I don't know what kind of pressure you're dealing with on that, but oh, we don't got to give you a refund because we didn't charge you for it. Weird. My account shows that there's $2,000 less in it, and it's gone to you guys. You know what pressure? Oh, sure. I mean, you could go. My nose itching. You could go -4 and use a turbo oil restrictor. They might have some -3 restrictors available. You could get a fitting and then weld the hole shut and drill a hole in it. That's an option too. Get a fitting, weld the end of it shut, and then drill the size restrictor you want. There's a lot of things you can do. Layout. I mean, it's just my OBS. I use this sometimes. It's hard because I can't show you all the screens easily. It doesn't capture all the screens. It just does weird stuff. It's hard to. It's on the laptop, so it's hard to pick laptop, move around, and show you things. I can't walk around the car with it easily, that kind of stuff. So that part sucks. But the good side is that it doesn't overheat, and my battery doesn't die. So there's that aspect of it. Yeah, this has been going on for 55 minutes right now. It's been a little boring, I will admit. I think I pissed off the YouTube algorithm with my freaking live stream of me handling my AR. that went over really well. Sure got some hate mail from freaking them over that. Chat's not showing up. It's supposed to show up. Now I can wait the year that it takes for the O2s to come active on these things sometimes. Sometimes it just takes forever. You just sit there and stare at it and wait. Did it show up again? See, it didn't show up. Oh, there it goes. See, it says 14.7 there on the O2. That's when they're in warm up. They just say that. Now, there's a little bit of a stream delay. But you guys won't know that. It's about 15 seconds, it seems like. So if you post up a question, I'm not going to see it for a little while. I have the BRN 180S Gen 2. It's in 223 Wild, so you can shoot all the 5.56s out of it. I have a second one coming. That's the full length. The S is the pistol length. But I have a full length one coming too. I just love it so much. It's expensive. There's no denying that. It is expensive for an upper. But it shoots so nice. Cycles so well. I'll just take one of my many other uppers and sell it.
Let's get with that 207. Does it matter if it's an auto?
No.
Or if it's for 205?
No.
Okay.
All has ABCS. What about these dogs? We doing this or what? What about these hot dogs?
Chase said it's too far of a drive. So it's a 45-minute round trip ordeal. I'm like, well,
Well, then what are we getting?
I don't know. That's something I was like.
Well, then give me a fucking Italian nightclub from Jimmy John's.
Italian nightclub?
Italian nightclub? Yeah.
See what they want to do.
Alright. Need some fucking food! I lost like 1.5 pounds yesterday. Gotta eat. My wife. Hello, love.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how you doing? Already? Damn. Oh, trying to reschedule those people and fix all that shit? You okay? Wow. I mean, you do care, but it's not like it matters. Nothing you can do about it. Boy, you sound mad. That's it? That's all it took? All it took was for you to tell me, and now you're fine?
We're going to Sonic again. I told him we're going to Sonic. He's like, I'm fine with this. It's just going to be like 45 minutes round trip. Whatever. We don't care. We want hot dogs.
I want two of the foot-long coney dogs with chili and onions.
We text it in the group chat.
Yeah. I'm on the phone.
Kevin's going to go and get everything.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, here.
Just
Give him that.
give him that.
That's all I got. Alright, sorry. Yeah, I said Jimmy John's are hot dogs, so. Yeah, sounds like it. I mean, yeah. Don't we all? 1632. Alright. Yep. Are you in a drive-thru of sorts? Oh. So they don't want to talk to you. Maybe you should stop saying that. Maybe they're going, this fucking bitch needs to shut up. Who does this pasty white broad think she is? I can hear it now. Your Arizona tan's gone, woman. You're just white now. She's on fucking speakerphone with the car, and I'm talking trash. Whoa, slow down on the cookies. Start. Oh yeah, is that what it is now? Uh-huh. I'm on the dyno. Where are you at? Oh, I know. I can tell. So, am I on like the speaker? So they heard me saying that you're just a pasty white bitch. Gotcha. Cleveland? I think it's where it is. I'm on the phone, so I can't look at it, but I thought it said CLE. Oh, did it? Oh, okay. So she changed it then, because there were initially. Oh, that explains why I'm going through a different airport, different connection flight. Because initially it was CLE. No, they're buying it. It's his car. Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, Chase isn't going because he has wrestling. Yeah. He's got like 7 people staying in his house or some shit. Flying in or whatever. Have the radio one? Oh, that's good. And they may upgrade us. I mean, we used our thing, so. Sounds good, baby. The other one. Yeah, before tomorrow. They're coming on Thursday in the morning then. Well, I mean, we're tuning tomorrow and the day after. No, they're gonna be with me during the training session. Right, right. I mean, not everyone's allergic to cats. Sure. I mean, it already is now, right? It's good. Yeah, I mean, you will. We saw him at SEMA one year. He bought a sushi. We went to a sushi place. Skinny kid. Oh, really? You remember when he worked there? Oh, but you know who he is now, right? Yeah, okay. No, just one. I think so. That's what I'm talking about. That's the one. Yeah. Sounds good. I love you. I hope not too. I love you, baby. I gotta go. Love you, bye. Holy crap! My phone's blown up my ear. I'm on the phone. I'm getting text messages out the ass. All right, sorry guys. Wife called, trying to fix some stuff. I have to go some places and do some things. So I'm gonna be gone for like 2 weeks, starting the 14th. All right, back at it. Here we go. Okay, so let me connect to the ECU and bring up my logger. Once it connects to the ECU, please wait while real-time data is retrieved, and just fucking crawls across the screen. This used to be fast. I don't know what happened. They made it not fast. They must have implemented some sort of like handshake protocol or something that is a lot slower. It used to be quick. Now it's like waiting and waiting. Of course, they also added a lot more stuff to the custom features, the COP custom features, so that data's got to be transmitted to the computer, and my guess is maybe they lowered the baud rate for that function to minimize collisions or something. I don't know. But it takes a while. Alright, so the last poll again was on wastegate pressure. It made the same power. It didn't knock as much, but knocked a little bit. And then at the very end, it leaned out because I was in such a low load on the fuel map that I went to a leaner AFR target. It leaned from 11.5 to 12.5. So from 62 to 68, it goes bloop in a 45-degree angle. So one thing they may have seen me doing was adjusting the closed loop fuel target. This thing operates full-time closed loop instead of open loop. So while the open loop table is showing here, it's pointless because everything I do now is in full-time closed loop. It makes the tune take longer if you have to make changes to the fuel table, but it can also be faster because you have to reflash it. But it can also be faster because it's closed loop. So you can just look at what percentage it needed to add or pull to maintain that target air-fuel ratio, and then take that off the MAF if you so need to. But you got to be careful about that because on the dyno, we don't have the same airflow that we have on the road. So the temperature gradient between the turbo inlet and the turbo outlet, or the turbo inlet being the mass airflow sensor, or the manifold intake air temp sensor that these have that a lot of other Supers don't have, will be different on the dyno than it is on the road, or can be different, I should say. And that will affect the fueling a little bit. So it'll affect the closed loop trim, may go up or down a little bit. So as long as it's within 5% or so, and relatively stable in the corrections, then you're pretty much good. You can leave that as it is because a change in temperature is going to change that correction. So in that regard, staying open or staying closed loop makes it quite a bit better. Now, that being said, if the correction is always going to be like a plus 5, and you have the exact same target in your open loop map, in the situations where it does pop out of closed loop and go to open loop, if you have the same VE or the same MAF reading and the same target, it's going to not have that 5% fuel trim, so it's going to end up being 5% lean. So sometimes when you're doing these full closed loop tunes, I say sometimes, for me, if you look now, you'll see all the times, it's better to have a richer target on the open loop table so that if for some reason it does pop into open loop from closed loop, and it was one of those situations where it should have had a positive trim, then at least the richer open loop trim will ensure that you add extra fuel to the car and it ends up being about where it should be in the first place. The other option you have is just to tune it in closed and then open also. I don't do that, being completely honest with you, because I found I don't really need it. And also to bring it back into open loop control takes a bunch of table changes and some reflashes and that kind of stuff. And sometimes it's not, a time, it's not worth it time-wise. O2 sensor still has not warmed up yet. You do it this way too, but let's see. So what you may have noticed, the O2 sensor was not active for that. That was the other thing I wanted to jump on really quick before I even say it. Doing a pull right there was open loop, and it went off the open loop map until about the back half of the pull. It actually went closed loop and started making some corrections. That being said, however, air fuel is identical. So that goes to show how just having that little extra, I mean, it's identical. It's a teeny bit richer, about 0.1, 0.2 AFR, maybe richer. So that goes to show how having a slightly richer open loop map can make the difference. You know, if this was set to be leaner like the other one, then it might have been off a little bit. But we'll try it out. So now we know the open loop map is good. I made 208, so a little bit less. Because I pulled timing out of it on that last revision. Because it kept knocking. But there was no knock on that one, so that was good. And the curve is about the same horsepower as it was. Just that, 211 to 208, that ain't shit. And to have a clean 208, that actually looks really nice. It's a nice gradual curve. A little dip right at 4,600. Little boop. So, I mean, look at the cam timing right there and see what that shows me. Air fuels are flat. Timing might be just slow to ramp up right there. Unfortunately, I logged it last month because I was in a hurry to get that pull off before the ECU went closed loop on me. So I didn't get that off. Text message. Conspiracy theory text from a friend of mine. Not really conspiracy theory. It's probably pretty fucking accurate. Just talking about how nobody's got the flu. If nobody has the flu, what happens when the flu comes back? If nobody has the flu, right? That's the grand assumption. If the flu is just testing as COVID all the time, then maybe people have the flu, they can test for COVID or something else. I don't know. There's been a lot of false positives, but that's what it looks like it's about. What happens when the flu comes back? I think this guy's claim that it might be really strong. I don't think so. It might not be. It might be really weak. Or we might be really weak. Alright, so I'm going to have wasted duty cycle. I'm just going to add 20% to the high and low. Just a straight square 20% right here. To get an idea of how responsive the boost control system is. It's important to know, first off, there's like a threshold. You start adding duty cycle and nothing happens. And that's fine. That's good. That's preferred. If you have a system where you add 5% and it adds boost, your system is way too sensitive, and it's going to be a problem. But once you break that threshold, usually it's going to be like 8 to 15%, sometimes as much as 20% before boost really starts to rise significantly or noticeably. Once you break that threshold, then the boost control is somewhat linear for a range. So from 20 to 40, I'll get a few pounds per 5% or 8% or whatever, right? You'll have this like a gain per se, right? Of how much boost I'm going to get with wastegate duty cycle rise. So I like to do it around 20%, see where the boost goes, and do another one at another step change and see where the boost goes. Try and get a feeling for how the boost control system responds and what the slope of my line is going to be for that gain curve. So, and then as you get higher and higher and higher in the boost, or as back pressure goes up, you get less per change in duty cycle. But I'm trying to find that where that's point in the middle of its operation, the steepest slope, the more efficient region of it, and figure out what that is by doing these step changes in boost. It doesn't go open loop often because on the FA, in this situation, we've commanded it to stay closed loop. But if for some reason you were to break some of the hard-coded thresholds, some of the thresholds that we have set at the hard-coded limits, you were to somehow break that or have the O2 sensor not be active, then you'd be open loop. And so for that reason, you want to be sure that you still have something set up or programmed, for that to happen. Alright, I think that's all the questions. If I missed one, I apologize. Alright, let's do this. I'm going to log this time, so I logged last time. I saw almost no horsepower change. I mean, it was a tiny bit. It was like three almost across the board. So potentially it added a tiny bit of boost at 20%. So we're going to find out in a second. We'll get the calculated load first and see if that's any different. It touched 2. So yeah, we added a little bit of boost to it. It's all the way up to 10 pounds. We're really cranking on it there. So the answer to that is not very responsive yet, right? Pretty much 10 pounds to the pole. We still have some fine knock learning at a very low timing value of 9, which is really a bummer. Air fuels were flat, and fuel trims were within 3%. So overall, the correction throughout the pole is minimal, which means that my mass airflow calibration and my VE table, the correction table for the MAF are pretty much spot on. To have 3%, like I can't bitch about that. As a peak, most of it was 0 to 1.7, a couple flashes of 2, and one little spot where it jumped to 3 really quick, and that's it. So that means that open loop and closed loop are going to be very accurate, and that's important. That dip at 46 is still kind of there. I didn't look at the log to look for that, so let's bring that back up again. Obviously, for some reason, it doesn't show you that because it's dumb. The timing pull happens later at 52, like every fucking FA always does, which is a bummer. 46, 47 has no reduction in timing, so it's not going to be that. But looking at my cam timing, I'm seeing my intake is starting to drop rapidly right there, so I might have pulled too much intake out too fast. But also my exhaust is really low, and I might not have enough exhaust in it yet. Looks like I've dropped it pretty quick. So let me go back to the AVCS for the exhaust, take a peek at that, and see. So it's pretty soft right there in this range, down to 10. I might bump that up a smidge. And then here, it's dropped pretty fast. But typically they want to drop fast right there. So it's probably going to be more the exhaust. Not the exhaust makes a lot of difference, but it does a little bit with back pressure regulation and all of that. So I'm going to go 15 to 48. I don't like changing a bunch of things at once, but I still have to finish this tune in a reasonable amount of time, so I do need to make more than one change at a time and try and make things happen. So I'm still gonna add a little bit of boost to it too, because I just need to. I gotta get this shit done. So I'm doing this step change. We're going straight to 30. With 20 to 30, the 20 added basically nothing, about half a pound maybe. So, yeah, we're gonna see how much this adds. And then once I get this trend and see if the boost is spiking and tapering off, or if it's falling flat in the middle, or whatever it's doing, then you start massaging the table to get the shape that you want out of your boost curve. Now, a whole lot of adjustment in the wastegate duty table as far as with RPM. If I'm trying to get this, take out wiggles, it's not gonna work really. You could try, but it's not gonna go, because those wiggles are gonna change based on all these other parameters that may or may not even be modeled in the ECU. But you don't want this to be your final wastegate duty table. This is trash. What's going to happen is I'll figure out how sensitive the system is, see how it responds, and then I will, reviewing back to my logs, know that 30% will say gave me 15 pounds. Well, then wherever my boost target is 15 pounds, that's where 30% will go. When my target is 17 pounds, that's where 37% will go. When my target is 10 pounds, that's where 20% will go. You know what I'm saying? So we'll fill it in based on what it actually gives us at the end, and that'll give us a wastegate duty cycle table that starts low and then moves towards high based on the requested torque, which is what you'd expect, right? Now, if the car's not crazy modified, it doesn't hurt to start with like a Cobb Stage 2 wastegate map. But if I did that right now, then you guys wouldn't see this process, and I wouldn't have told you about filling the map in that way. So I'm gonna do it again 30, see how the response is, and then from there we will start massaging the table to get what we want. That brake feels funny. There was no raise in boost there, so now I'm concerned at 30%, if I have no increase in boost, is the boost control hooked up correctly? Oh wait, wastegate cycle 0. What the fuck? Why is wastegate 0? Oh, am I at too low of a fuck? Oh my god, I'm an idiot. I don't think my throttle tables are set up for the right requested torque. 350. Okay. 350. Bet 350 is where my fucking map starts, isn't it? Yeah. Well, there we go. I missed by a line. So let me bring this to 20 first, go back to the 20 value. And this one hit 350 though, right? Yeah, so I hit it there, I just missed it on the other one. Alright, that one says 30 there. Okay, so we'll try it again. I'm just a dummy. Just a dummy, missed it. There we go. So 20% added some boost. Like it should have in the first place. Power went to 227, and it added about 2 pounds. 2.5 pounds there. No, I can't show the logs as I'm reviewing them because it's a different window name every time I open it, and OBS doesn't identify the different window name every time, so I'd have to open the log, go into OBS, find the window name, change the parameter, hit save, open just to show you guys the log. And some of these are going to be for seconds. So no, I can't. Now I've done it with the phone, right? I hold it up and I show you guys the log in there. I've done that. But today I'm just trying to keep the battery charged on the phone, keep it overheating, and then do it like this. So unfortunately, I can't show you because it doesn't. OBS is dumb. I wish it would allow. I wish it had a ability to capture all the sub windows of the program that you're using, but it doesn't. I have to put in the name of each one. It's kind of silly. Or maybe there's just a bunch of shit I don't know how to use on OBS, which is possible too. So boost went up again. We're getting this learning now. Granted, I didn't reset the ECU, so learning is going to go there. It's going to stay there. It's not going to pop out unless I do a handful of pulls and eventually I'm going to pull it down. So this learning that's here, this could very well not be in response to anything that's happening on this pull. It could be happening to on a previous pull. Because it looks pretty much the same as last time. The same 2-1, the same RPM, the same spot, and even with a much lower timing value, it came in again at the exact same point. And that's just kind of the FA problem. And it gets worse on cars that have old spark plugs, aren't walnut blasted, and all of that. I have no idea the history on this car. It hasn't been done. It's probably due for a walnut blast. If it hasn't been done, it's due for spark plugs. I don't know, and the owner's not here, so I can't ask him. Just going to keep going and doing what I can, and then have a discussion with him afterwards and see if I can get answers to those questions. But he's not here. He had a job to do, like most of us, right? All right, so now we're going to go to 30. Now we'll go to 30%. So I know that 12, and I can start that now. I can go to my boost target and see, where's 12 at? 12 is at 260-ish. So I can put the 20s in the 260. So I can go to high, go to 260, and I can throw 20 in here for now like this. And then I give it, an approximate, and see, boost target at 200 is what? 2, which is going to be, 5% or something. I don't know if I want the solenoid operating everywhere less than 200, so I'm going to leave this at 0. But I'm going to take this guy, and 220, my boost target is 5, which is going to be around 10 to 15% in there. So I'm just going to go, let's go 13%, and then we'll bring it into the 20. And this will give us the start of our final wastegate duty map. And then we can test it by adjusting things if we wanted to get really in depth with it. But we do know that at 260, 20 is the right amount. That being said, that could be a little incorrect. I say that, but at 260, the throttle is not wide open, so it might actually take a little more wastegate duty cycle to hit that value. But in the partial throttle settings, I prefer to fail on the low side than the high side. If you fail on the high side, then what happens is you'll be at partial throttle, and the boost will come in hard, and then go, oh, it's too much, and then teeter down. And so you'll give the car throttle, and it'll kind of go, whoa, and then slow down again, and it feels really weird. And then what'll happen is you'll give it throttle, it'll speed up, it'll slow down, and then if you give it throttle again, it'll have a rush of power. If you try going all the way down, have a rush, and then slow down again. So you'll have this weird trend where the boost overshoots a little bit with all your throttle movements if you fail on the high side, and that's not ideal. That's not how people want their cars to behave for the most part. Not how I want them to behave. So I'd rather fail on the low side in the partial throttle settings, so that the car is able to just, it's about here, it gets close, and then it can seek that boost target, it can try and get to it. Because those partial throttle settings and all of that can really alter the way the car feels, and you know, you want it to feel nice. You want it to feel good. That being said, did I do a 30 pole? I didn't. No, this is going to be a 30 pole here. Okay. Alright, so let's check that. I'm just going to take this and just do this for now. And then we're going to do a 30 pole too. Also, what will happen is that the top end here will actually get lower wastegate duty cycles, very low wastegate duty cycles for back pressure management. But that'll be done later on in the tune. I think you'll see what I mean. That was a surprising result. The power didn't decay at all up top. It held quite well, actually, all the way to redline. And it held so well, it caught my surprise. When it hit redline, I was like, oh shit, we're there. Usually, these things are falling pretty hard by redline, and you're waiting for it to get close to let off because you're like, yeah, it's done. But that one held power almost totally flat to 60, 100. Picked up another 12 horsepower. But the boost only went up a little bit. Believe it or not, it only went up a little bit. I'm seeing 13 and a half. Yeah, so only went up about half a pound or so. Got the same fine knock learning trend. I'm going to reset the ECU here pretty soon and clear that. And then I hit the rev limiter and it pulled. It pulled time at the rev limiter because that's what they do sometimes. Okay. That being said, let's look for that 4K dip. Still there. Still there. All right. So wastegate duty actually went to 33. Now that's gonna, even though I got it set at 30, there's temperature compensations in here for barometric pressure. I said temperature. There's compensations for barometric pressure, intake air temp, coolant temp, things like that in the ECU. So it allows it a little room on top of the max table to do what it needs to do to find the target. The boost error is going down now because we're getting closer to target. So now the error is 5.5 to 6 instead of being 8 or 9 like it was earlier. This doesn't like any timing. I mean, I only got 5 degrees on it at 5,000 or 52, and it still pulls a little bit. So just more FA isms. So now we're gonna go 40. Another step jump. We're gonna do a step change here, 40, and see how much more we get out of it. And then since this is starting to run long, I'm just gonna get with my old wastegate maps, throw it on there, tweak it to what we found again, do a poll, see how close it is, and then tweak from there. Air fuel is perfect though, it's money. Everything looks pretty good, honestly. Air is a lot less. Now we're at 2.5 to 4 pounds for air. Had the same trend with the timing again. Same exact points. And what's crazy about it is that we had to boost added load. It reduced timing because that's what it does. And even with the timing being significantly reduced, the and the fuel being the command of fuel being richer, it still had the exact same location every freaking time, which is, you know, again, what I've been saying since the beginning, and that's just the fucking FA, man. It's what makes them not fun to tune, is dealing with bullshit like this. You get like a standalone, and you can listen to the knock sensors, and you can tell there's nothing going on, and you can make a beautifully smooth power curve and everything else. Or you could try and do some fuckery with the ECU here and turn off the knock control system and all that, which I don't like to do. It's within our power to alter it significantly, but I don't like to do it. Now this one got pretty wavy, and when your curve starts to get wavy like this, it you know, you got the general trend increasing towards red line and then falling off at the very end. But when it's wavy the whole way, if you don't see that in the log, it's usually because you don't have timing on it. And as this thing has been going, we've been pulling timing out of it. Now it's almost to the point where it feels like it's just not burning clean. Any car that you tune, if it's wavy like that, and you don't see cam timing all over the place, or boost all over the place, or ignition advance all over the place, but the result becomes wavy, that usually means that you just have not enough of something, whether it's not enough spark energy, not enough timing, you know, things like that will cause a really wavy output. And I see it on the EJs, I see it on FAs, I see it on LSs, I see it on everything. So 4096. Yeah, they've been tweaked a little bit, just smoothed out a little bit. It doesn't matter though. Like honestly, like those things, you can make them all say 10,000 and it'll do the exact same thing. You'll have the same knock, you'll have the same everything. It's weird. It'll happen at the exact same place, only instead of saying 3,000, it'll say 4,000. Instead of saying 4,000, it'll say 7,000. Instead of saying 7,000, it'll say 9,000. And it's always the exact same place. So I'm not even certain that these threshold tables are totally defined correctly, because it just seems to continue, you know, no matter what. I haven't found anything really that stops that trend, and I've done injection timing changes, cam timing changes, you know, ignition timing changes, fuel targets, boost, waste heating cycle, and I've even had all those other tuners that are super popular here, or on the phone with them, or team viewer, and say, hey, what do you guys think about this? And I show them that, and they go, oh, we just need to do whatever it is, and then, okay, well, we do it, and then we do it, and then the problem is exactly the fucking same. Or they'll be like, oh, here's a map, try this. This one will make like 350 wheel horsepower, and then it makes 240, you know, or it makes 30 less than the map that I've got in the car already. So it's there's no special sauce, and I know a lot of the other tuners out there want to tell you that there's some fucking special sauce for the FA. It doesn't exist. There's no FA special sauce. It's just you get lucky and get one that doesn't suck as bad as the rest, you know, and that's it sometimes. Or you turn off the knock control system, and then or run ethanol. So you throw ethanol in it, everything just becomes happy. It's really nice. And even then, though, like guys making 400 wheel on the stock turbo and all that shit, no, you're not. It's not real. It's not at all real. And mass airflow readings will fucking show you that it ain't real. So, and I had open invitation to anybody who claims that they have a 350 to 400 wheel horsepower FA on the stock turbo. Put on the dyno. I'll pay you if it makes that. You know, if it doesn't, then you gotta say I was wrong. But if it makes that, I'll fucking pay you. I'll pay for your tune. I'll pay your tuner, because it ain't gonna do it. On a real dyno, you're not making 400 horsepower on the stock turbo, even on ethanol. just ain't happening. So, it's all bullshit. It's all internet bullshit. You know, a tuner will post up, oh man, I found more power. Bring your car back to me. Let's, you know, get it retuned. I found power in the tune. Like, where was it hiding? You know, like, shut the fuck up. You just find more power. It wasn't hiding in the fucking throttle table somewhere. Yeah, nothing's real. You live in the Matrix. You're right. Yeah. What'd they call it? Your residual self-image or whatever, you know? Is that what they called it in the Matrix? It's like, notice your tubes are gone and all this stuff, right? That's your residual self-image, or what the fuck they call it, right? I guess we all self-actualize a little bit. It's just whether or not we tell everybody what we've come across or what we've determined. Anyway, so there's big gains, but it was wavy. So that sucks. Made 251 up from the 208. I'm guessing it needs plugs and a walnut blast, honestly. We'll see. Just gonna keep plugging away, see if there's anything else. Oh, let's get the log again, see if I missed something that was wavy. I just closed that log, didn't I? Yeah, I closed it. Alright, I'm sorry I'm not doing that up here because my boost target up top is 16. We didn't quite hit that last pull, but we got really close. So here, we're going to go with a 45. And this is going to be 22. I'm going to take that down here. Whoops. One of these. 45 is there. Yeah, we're down at half a degree of timing at the onset of the pole. Oh, excuse me, guys. You understand? Oh, lost my phone. There it is. Adjusting my balls to try to find my phone. So really, I want to add timing to this. That's not letting me. And I really feel like if I add timing, it's going to smooth that power curve out. But sometimes, you don't have to add timing, and you can add boost. Huge mid-range gain. That was a huge mid-range gain. With that extra boost there, it picked up 30, 40 wheel torque and smoothed out. So, adding boost helped. That's what I was going to say, is that if you can't add timing, add some load. Because then the lower timing is appropriate for the load that you have. Yeah, so huge gain in the mid-range. It smoothed out quite a bit, but then dove like a rock because of the reduced timing up top combined with the Find knock learned. But the fact that it's saying that it's knocking at 4 degrees of timing, it's like on this log here, I know you can't see it, 5,600 RPM, it's at 4 degrees, and then it says, I knocked. Bullshit. You didn't fucking knock at 4 degrees. At 16 pounds of boost. Pretty much near target through the direction of the pole. We're within 1 pound of target through the direction of the pole. So I'm gonna compare this to one of my other maps. I'm just gonna take a look and see. We'll look at this guy's map, and we'll see what the wastegate duty looks like, and if it's close to this one. If it already has stuff. Let's see. Oops. This one's close. 57. You'll see it tapers down. This has got a little more here in the 240s, so 33 is a little high compared to what we had before, what we saw it needed, right? Same kind of idea though. Right near the end, don't waste a duty cycle. Try and drop the back pressure. See, you've got 56 and coming down some. We're trying to reduce the back pressure on the engine. These things hate back pressure, so this isn't one of my nicest ones. It's all right. Let's compare it to a Cobb Stage 2. Let's see, Cobb Stage 2, Big SF. Let's see what they got. There you go. That was weird. So this one only goes to 32. You see here, this one only goes as high as 32, which doesn't give us the boost we need at all. And they don't have any decay on top for back pressure management. I'm not a fan of that. But this is pretty low anyways. So potentially this one is for it says they're saying 20 pounds down to 13. That's interesting. That must be factory boost control solenoid stuff, because the factory boost control solenoid is really bad for spiking, whereas aftermarket ones track a lot better. So this one is definitely for a factory solenoid, because there's no way that any normal boost control system would give you 20 pounds at 32 and then 14 or less at 30, right? That's just not how boost control works normally. And the factory solenoid is pretty bad on this car. Now on the EJs, the factory solenoid actually works really good. Works really good on the factory VFs. That whole boost control system is really good. I don't ever see any actual gains out of boost control solenoid on a VF. People claim they have gains. There's no fucking gains. There's a reduction in resolution with those. Now in this case, since we've got a boost control solenoid that actually flows correctly, we have a curve that represents the boost that the car makes. Not this one here, because this is the Cobb one, but this one, well, not this one, I got that set at 50, but at the lower end where we set it before, where we saw it was needing to be tapered down. So, and then the taper on the top. And realistically, if I go back to that log, I can see turbodynamics at the higher end. I wanted a little more actually. So either my target's a little high on the top end, or okay, my target's a lot higher. So my target's 17 on the top end and 17 peaks. Mine's pretty flat. And this, it would probably benefit from me reducing the boost a little bit up here. That's the more boost you have here, the more back pressure you have. And on ethanol, it's great. On ethanol, you can really push it hard, and it won't be an issue. But on the FAs on pump, I like a little less up top. That color is funny on the screen, but it's the same. That's weird. Alright, I'm going to do that to a little less like that. Oops, hit the wrong button. Like this. Down a little bit. Take this guy right here. Like that a little bit. That did not work out. That was too big of a drop. I don't like that spot either. Bump that up. There we go. So we're going to need about 57 through the mid, I'm guessing, based on what we've seen so far. And then tapering down to the 50 and 45 or so. I need to go far for the left. I should change these axes. There's no reason for me to have 400 as my requested torque max at 350, right? That doesn't make sense. There's no point in doing that. We did know that 240 was around 16. We'll taper some of that in. Don't need a lot of duty cycle up there because these things are so responsive as it is. If I have it be ridiculously responsive in the low range, that's cool, I guess. But what happens is you get heat soak the intercooler and you get too much heat soak on the intercooler and you lose power up top. You start pushing a lot of boost down low and you end up getting back pressure and heat in the manifold and the engine and the heads and everything else starts to really take a toll on you. So I'm going to take this map, take it over to the initial, and then pull a few percent out of it since we've been working on that already. Alrighty. We're not even operating up here, right? This region didn't even hit 76, 78, not even touched. This area here is. A little bit out of there. Why'd they go up? It should have gone down. Oh, 3-0. Okay. More timing out because this thing doesn't like timing. Corey asked, my 19 STI made 500 wheel on Dynamics of the black. Stage 2 tough block, stock heads, 85, 30 pounds. God damn it. And all sporting goodies. That seems pretty good. Ethanol is magic sauce, man. Ethanol is the magic sauce for an EJ especially, and an FA. Fuck both of them. Any whack geometry engine like this, where the rod ratio sucks ass, is going to need a fast burning fuel. You're going to see big gains on it. The fast burning ethanol isn't as good for a lot of other motors because how do I word this? Okay. If you ever reloaded a gun, and I mean a gun, I mean ammo for a gun, right? If you do reloading, when you reload, you have to use a specific powder with a specific burn rate for the cartridge, for the weight you're using, the weight, the grain size of the bullet. Man, I am having a hard time talking today. The weight of the bullet, and even for the primer. So why is that? Well, it's because the geometry of everything is different. And the way the chamber is shaped will dictate how fast it'll burn. If your case is long and skinny and you have like a really light charge, then you could potentially get really high spikes in pressure because you'll light the whole upper layer of powder. And so you can actually change the powder to something that creates almost a full case fill, so there's no air void gap to fuck with your consistency of your burn. So now when comparing a piston or an engine to a chamber and a gun, I think it's extremely similar, because you have the bullet and the speed of that bullet, how fast it moves down the bore, how much friction there is, how heavy it is. All those things are going to require you to have a different burn speed or a different ignition point, per se. So in guns, you're always trying to time and profile cylinder pressure correctly to get the most out of it and to keep from blowing up in your face, right? And that's exactly what we're doing with a car. We're trying to time it with ignition advance based on RPM, right? How fast is that piston or the bullet moving down the cylinder, right? Now, with the gun, we don't have RPM, to load for. We don't have to change the load based on RPM because the bullet always starts off at a rest. But if you use a lighter bullet, it moves down the bore faster, much like a higher RPM in an engine. So changing the load has to be done based on all these parameters. Is the case fat and short? Is it long and skinny? Is the bullet heavy? Is the bullet light? Is the barrel really long? Right? And then you change the whole recipe to get the most performance out of it. It's a lot like an engine. So if I have an over square engine, or an under square engine, so over square would be the bore is really big, the stroke is really short, or under square, the bore is really small, the stroke is really long, right? Those geometry changes are going to affect the way combustion happens in the cylinder. If I have a narrow bore and the piston comes to the top and I got a small chamber, I have everything smashed into a really small, tight little ball. And when I light it off, that flame front that propagates through all of that charge, through the air-fuel charge mixture, doesn't have to go outward much, right? It propagates from the center and then moves down. Well, when you have a big wide bore, that flame front has to travel really wide across the bore to get to all the air and fuel and then also down. And when you have to go wide, you suffer from an increased ignition requirement. I need to light it off earlier so the flame has time to go wide and get to all the fuel that's there on the surface of that the chamber, basically. So if I have this engine that always needs a lot of timing because the bore is really wide, then what that means is that I'm lighting things off as the piston is still coming up, and I'm adding all this heat into the cylinder and all those other places. But if I got a smaller bore and the flame front propagates outward only a little bit, right, and it's already engorging the mixture, then I start that a lot later. I start that closer to TDC, and I'm putting less of that heat and stuff in and positing it into the chambers and the pistons and all that. But what I also have is essentially a faster burn, because all the molecules are a lot closer together, and so the energy from each one is able to transfer to the next adjacent molecule faster. If you look at the Hemi head at idle is very slow burning. It's got a huge chamber. It's a huge hemispherical big bore chamber. Then you got two plugs in that fucking thing because everything is so scattered and spaced out that it's got a really slow burn speed when you're at low RPM. It's only when you get that thing really humping and air moving through it that the burn speed starts to pick up. So the Subaru has the EJ and the FA. FA is actually square, but because the piston moves away from TDC so fast due to the absolute ass munch fucking rod ratio that it has, it simulates that situation where you need to start the burn off earlier, or you need to have a faster burn to get the most out of it. But the EJ has a not as bad rod ratio, but not great either. The big bore and a slow burn. So if I can put a fuel in there, or a gunpowder, right, that burns faster, I don't have to light it off as early. And then I'm also not depositing extra heat in the cylinder. But then as that piston moving away from TDC really fast, the faster burn is able to release the energy quick enough that I can get it out of the fuel and couple it well to the crankshaft. So the EJ is kind of screwed because it's a big over square thing, and it's got a bad rod ratio. If it was over square with a good rod ratio, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because the piston's not tearing away from TDC really fast. I can light it off early, but I don't need to burn super fast because the piston isn't leaving TDC really quick. But since it's got a bad rod ratio and it's over square, the faster burning fuels really, really shine in an EJ. And so you see these gains on ethanol on an EJ that are way beyond what anybody else with a normal configuration engine would get in gains. And it's not just the improvement in octane, which is a huge factor. It's not just the improvement in cooling, which is a big factor. It's the fact that the whole thing burns quicker and you're able to get the energy out fast enough, so you're able to tailor your fuel, the burn speed of your fuel, to the geometry of your cylinder, just like as if you were reloading ammo. I honestly have no idea what started me to get off on that tangent. If you could fill me in, I'd appreciate it. Have to watch the replay, go back and go, oh yeah, what was they talking about? That's right, yeah. But anyways, so that's my parallel of reloading to tuning and why different fuels make such a big difference. Another example that feeds into that is in rally racing, in professional rally racing, the Evos used a special custom blend of fuel that was very different than the EJ blend of fuel. So when you were buying race gas, if you were in rally racing quite a few years ago, yes, ethanol is nitrogen sauce. That's where I was going with it. Okay. if you're doing rally racing when it was before it was ARA, what was it? I forget now who was doing it all, like WRC and all those guys. They had a lot more fuel options and less restrictions on their fuel, and they would get custom blended synthetic fuels for the Evos and EJs. And when you bought it from the company, you told them the engine you had, they'd send you the right one, because the EJs needed the faster burning one, and the Evos needed the slightly slower burning one to give them the right burn rate for their engine geometry. And that does not change in professional racing unless the fuel is controlled. They still do that shit. I mean, fuck, F1 puts oil additives in there to raise the octane of their fuel, and they intentionally consume oil during the race, right? Well, you fucking know damn well that additive is going to be a little bit different based on what they think their engine needs for better burn speed and all that kind of stuff. So I got a text message from my Discord channel with a question. I don't know if he's actually watching the stream or just wants to ask this question at random. That's not the question. Where'd it go? This one? Here it is. Is speed density load smoothing applied before you start to build a VE table or after the table is done? Or does it matter? I'm working on ABCS, and this time around things are much smoother, going from 17 to 5 on the exhaust and carburetor dry bowl. The last time I made a large drop of the carburetor dry bowl until I revised VE tables sometimes. I'm currently smoothing 0.6 tails. Okay, so he's asking about SD smoothing. I'm not doing SD on this tune on this car, so he's probably not watching the stream, or just asking me generically about it. SD smoothing is basically load smoothing that is in the ECU. It's there inherently for the mass airflow sensor, because mass airflow sensors are notoriously wiggly, and you don't want your calculation also to be wiggly. So to answer his question, if you're watching the stream, Matt, that smoothing should always be running. Where you have it now, I wouldn't fuck with it much from there. I would leave it alone. And really, you only use the smoothing if you find that that you need it, right? You only use as much smoothing as you need, because if you think of it like an accumulator or an orifice act as an averaging circuit, so does smoothing. And what that means it takes up the highs, takes up the lows, and it can slow down the overall response. So if I have a really aggressive averaging circuit over a long time, then when I need the ECU or the calculation to respond to a fast change in something, if I over smooth it, I will not get that change. And that goes to hydraulic systems, it goes to fluid systems, it goes to electrical circuits, all those things are the same shit. If I over smooth or I over damp or I over restrict, then I will miss things that I need to get. So if you're watching the stream, Matt, I hope that answers your question. If you're not watching the stream, I'll fucking link you to this section of the thing later on. Okay. But yeah, only use as much smoothing as you need. Alright. Oh, I want to reflash this. I'm going to reflash this shit. Yeah, flashy. Save that. Disconnect. Ready? It's ready. My email while this flashes. Whack geometry engine plus 85 equals a good time. Yeah, right. When is 85 perfect? EJ with meth. Oh, my thing went away. Okay, so Nick is asking if methanol would be better than ethanol. It's not really comparing the same thing with those. Methanol is very, very different than ethanol. The stoichiometric ratio is way richer. It carries some oxygen with it. It has more BTUs per unit volume than gasoline. It's got a lot of different stuff in it. Can you make more power on it? Fuck yes. You can absolutely make power on ethanol. And would turbos spool faster on methanol than they do on ethanol? Yes, they absolutely would spool faster on it, just like ethanol spools faster than gasoline. Better? I don't know. Is a highly corrosive fuel that you need metric ass tons of better? I mean, that's up to you. Performance-wise, yeah, it would perform better. Practicality-wise, it's totally impractical. You would need 2600 cc injectors just to run like an FP black or a green on methanol because it needs so much fuel. It would not be good in any way. But if you had strictly a drag racing Subaru that you need to make as much power as you possibly could out of it, then methanol could be good. I don't know the burn speed of methanol, however. So the burn speed of methanol might be slow, and it methanol burn speed. Yeah, so it looks like it says it burns a lot slower. So that would be bad. The answer is no. Looks like it burns slower than gasoline, actually, according to this what I'm reading here. I'm looking for an actual value in meters per second. That can be found sometimes. 5.6 pounds of gasoline will take 840 BTUs of energy versus 8855 for methanol. They said to make a phase change. Oh yeah, for the latent heat of vaporization to cool down the cylinders and shit. That makes sense. Is this fucking flash done yet? Yes. Turn off. Hit OK. Nitromethane might be a good time. That might be a fucking party. Because it's got a lot of oxygen in it. I've never run nitromethane in a Subaru before. But since nitromethane contains a lot of oxygen, that might be some really fucking, that might be a really good time. Right, that's what I found too, Cody. 60% slower, which would be bad for an EJ. You would need an ignition system that was gigantic, because you got to add a lot of energy to it to even ignite it, and keep from blowing out the spark in your plugs. You need a lot of stuff. And you have to light off really, really, really early. Which means you're probably wiping out wrist pins and things like that. Okay, it's back up. Is stream working again? Let me change the scene and see if it comes back on the other one. There we go. Weird. What's here yet? I'm fucking hungry. Somebody's here with a car on a trailer. Just another fucking car getting towed in. That helps too. It's a little expensive. Ah! Looks like a legacy, like an old legacy. The door handle looks like a 3rd gen leggy. The best gen leggy, in my opinion. Wait, is it 3rd? 2nd gen. 2nd gen. 95 to 2000. kidding me? Good timing on this thing. Fuck, I hate these cars sometimes. It says it's knocking at 3 degrees of timing at 6,000 RPM. Really? You really think that's happening? I don't think it's happening. Well, I'm gonna see if this thing's had spark plugs done in. I'm gonna just email the owner. See, hey, lunch is here. My lunch is here. Woo woo. See if it's had spark plugs done on it recently. If it's had a walnut blast or any of that, because this kind of knock is not even close to being realistic. It shouldn't knock at 6,000 RPM with 3 degrees of timing on it. Like, it just doesn't. And I can crank it to, I can add 10 degrees to it, for example, and it'll have the exact same result. So, I don't know. I might try fucking with the sensitivity, but I don't really want to. But it usually doesn't do anything for you. But 286 right now. That's what it says, I think. It's not bad. Just dying off with that fucking bullshit time pole. Anyways, lunch is here. I'm gonna go do that because I'm a hungry motherfucker. I had no breakfast. I ate some chocolate-covered coffee beans for breakfast. Spark knock. My sister and I were driving too far not to about back and slammed the brakes to avoid an accident. The dealership saying the motor and transmission are crapped out. Because you slammed on the brakes? Interesting. My builder tuner used my MAF's intake temp sensor to tune via speed density and did not install IT in my charge pipe. That's fucked, Corey. That's absolutely fucked. Yeah. That's all I gotta say about that. That is absolutely fucked. Most important thing on a Subaru is to have an intake air temp after the intercooler. All the EJs that don't have it, they come here, they get it. It's the best way to keep it alive. If you're speed density, you cannot have accurate air temps going into the engine. You don't know what the VE is. You don't know what the air density is in the engine with that. Your VE curve is basically completely fucking useless without knowing what the... I mean, as it is, speed density is already an estimate, right? It's a guess of what the volumetric efficiency is in the engine. Then you change the temperature or not even know what the temperature actually is. Like, that's totally fucked. That's not even close. Like, okay, we're going to say something's already not accurate, and we're going to say, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just do whatever. Air temp doesn't matter, right? I mean, it's like a 30% difference in air density over 100 degrees. How the fuck can you, even for a second, think that that's the right way to do it? Because they ain't the right fucking way to do it. Yeah. Definitely put intake air temp post intercooler. Absolutely do that. Maybe they left the intake air temp compensation alone from the way Cobb said it, and it would be relatively close if they happen to tune it at around 80 something degrees. And if that's the case, then you're fucking lucky and you're good to go. But absolutely should take an intake air temp sensor post intercooler. That is the dumbest shit that anyone has ever done, especially fucking Phil from Element. Nice guy, but sometimes he's a fucking idiot. Oh, intake air temp sensor in the fender. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect VE any. Like, oh my god, the whole fucking calculation is based on speed density. PV equals nRT. T is just as important in that equation as every other variable in the equation. PV equals nRT. You need the fucking T to be accurate for the N to be accurate. So yeah, you should absolutely have an intake air temp sensor in there. And anyone that says you don't need one post intercooler is a fucking idiot. And you should just tell them that you never want to see them again. That's fucking dumb. It's dumb. Anyways, I'm gonna go eat lunch. Obviously, I'm hangry because I didn't have breakfast. And only have some chocolate. I had 4 chocolate-covered coffee beans today so far, and it's like what, 1:32? Something. The fuck time is it? 2. So yeah. Peace out, home slices. Appreciate you hanging around. I also emailed this customer and say, hey yo man, your card is angry. and then figure out what to do with that. Anyways, hope you guys learned something, and I hope you had fun watching me be mad and deal with an FA, which is usually a hair-pulling experience. And if you want to ask more specific questions, like the other guy did during during this, no, I didn't break it. Then you can come to the Discord. Go to the Ask Me Anything section if you want to ask me where I went to school, or who my first girlfriend was, or when I got laid the first time. That's great for Ask Me Anything. If you want to know about tuning stuff, then you can ask me some stuff in the tuning discussion. But some of this stuff, if it's considered a lesson, will be a paid for section. And so you have to do a subscription for that. But I'll still answer a lot of generic questions and shit and everything. Plus, you can hang out with guys that like cars. If I like to play video games, we do that shit too. We share memes and overall just keep positive. And I occasionally call up people dummies and teach them how to do it right. So feel free to stop by. And of course, every YouTube ending is ended with like and subscribe and ring the bell and all that stupid shit. But if you want to watch the shit, then do it. If not, then do your thing. But I appreciate it. Share it with your friends. Tell them they're idiots if they have IETs before the intercooler. All that stuff. I'm eating my lunch. Have a good one.